lesson about the walls of Jericho and Rahab. She knew the Israelites were coming and were going to destroy her city. Was there a way for her to be saved? No. None. But God made a way, didn't he? God sent spies. She was kind to them. She hid them. And she, the only family that survived when the Israelites came and took over Jericho. Because God made a way for her. Today we're going to meet somebody else that had no chance. And God made a way for her as well. Let me tell you about her. The story actually starts with this woman named Naomi. Naomi was married to Elimelech. They had 2 sons. They were part of Abraham's family. They were Jewish. And they lived in the land of Israel, the land that God had promised to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Okay? So they lived there. But one year, the weather wasn't good, there wasn't much food, and they were in danger of starving. And so they moved to a neighboring country called Moab. Now that was probably not the best idea they ever had, but that's what they did. And there they lived for a while, but then Elimelech died. That left her as a single mom raising her 2 boys. That's a hard job. If any of you are in those kind of families where the father's not there, it's hard for mom to be both mom and dad and try to raise her 2 boys. But she did it. And they became adults and they got married. And they married girls from that country, girls who had not grown up knowing about the true God. They worshipped idols and things like that, but they married them and brought them into their family. Now, more sad things happened. Before long, both of the boys died too. So now we have 3 women who are not only very, very sad because they've lost the guys that they loved, but they're alone. How are they going to make a living? How are they going to survive? So Naomi says, you know what, girls? You each have a family here in Moab. How about you go back home to your mom and dad and to your relatives? I'm going to go back to Israel. I think that's where I belong. I have relatives there. I think I can get some help back there maybe. So she got ready to go, and Orpha, one of the girls, she said, you know, that makes sense to me. I don't really like it because I like you, and I'd rather be with you, but it makes sense for me to stay here with my family. Ruth, on the other hand, had a different idea. I want you to open your Bibles to the book of Ruth. Now, Ruth is easy to find. Use that table of contents where your pink slip is. They're in alphabetical order. Just go down to the R's in the second column, and you'll find Ruth.
How do you have
Please don't tell us the page number. I want everybody to find it. Okay, you find it? Read it. Read. Find it? Got it? Got it?
So where is Ruth? 284.
All right.
284.
All right, we're going to look in the very first chapter. You just have to go over one page, verse 16. Kind of toward the bottom, verse 16. And we're going to read it together. Got it? All right. We're going to read what she said to Naomi. Read it with me. But Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you important part there, the most important part is the last line. Your God is going to be my God. She said, don't make me go back to my family. I want to go with you. I want to go back to Israel with you because I believe in your God. So just like Rahab, she believed, even though she came from a culture that didn't believe in the true God. So they go back to the land of Israel. They settled in a little town called Bethlehem. That might ring a bell, right? Okay. Naomi was from there, so she went back there. But now you have two women alone who have to somehow make a living. And so Ruth says, I'll go out and see if I can find something to eat. And so she did that. And in those days, if you owned a field like this, you would intentionally not harvest all of it, to leave some for the poor and people like this, widows who didn't have any other way to get food. And so Ruth went out there and did that, and she gathered this kind of grain. And every day she would go get some, and then of course they would take it, grind it up, and make like a flour out of it, and they would bake cakes and bread and all kinds of good things to eat out of that. So that's how they stayed alive. Now, one day while she was out there, the owner of the field, whose name was Boaz, saw her out there. And he asked the other workers, he said, who is that lady there? And they said, oh, that's Naomi's daughter-in-law. She's out here to get food for them. And Boaz realized that Ruth was a very kind, compassionate lady. Well, that sparked an interest in him. Boaz wasn't married. So guess what happened? He fell in love with Ruth. It's a great love story. You'll have to read the rest of the book. But eventually, he married her. And God blessed them because she believed in the same God that Boaz believed in. And eventually, after they were married, they had a little baby, and they named him Obed. And so there they are, there's Naomi holding the baby. And if you notice over here, there's a cross and there's a crown. That's because, look at this, Boaz was Rahab's son. And Boaz married Ruth. They had Obed. Obed grew up and got married and had Jesse. Jesse grew up and got married, and guess who his son was? David, who became the great King David, right here. So what was her relationship to the great King David? Who was she? Was she his mom?
No.
Who was she? How was
Grandma.
Ruth related to David?
Grandma.
Almost.
Aunt.
Great-grandma, right? She was his great-grandma because Jesse and his wife were David's mom. Obed and his wife would have been his grandparents. Ruth was his great-grandma. So even though she had not come from a group of people who worshiped God, she became part of the Jewish family. And God used her to raise some really good kids who became in the line of the great King David. And of course, later than that, she was in the line of who? Jesus. She'd have been a great, I don't know how many greats, grandmother of Jesus himself, even though she wasn't born into that family. You and I aren't Jewish, most of us. I don't have any Jewish blood in me. But do I get to believe in Jesus? Does he care about me? Absolutely. Just like Ruth and Rahab. So that's the beauty, I think, of this story about Ruth, is that we can be part of God's family, just like she became part of the family as well. All right, I'm going to let you go to activity. I need to split you up differently today.